For the person speaking, do we know the person who's using interpreting services?
Yes, Matthew, who has not joined yet.
Okay.
Welcome, welcome. We'll get started in about, it's generally, well, maybe we can give it one more minute and then we can kick off and get started. Give it until 5:32. All right. Maybe about 30 more seconds and then we can go ahead and get started.
I think the interpreters will turn our cameras off unless the Matthew joins.
Yep, that sounds good.
Oh.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, I think we have quorum, and I think we are ready to go. So welcome everybody to the January 2026 Happy New Year Multimodal Accessibility Advisory Council meeting. Today, so the Multimodal Accessibility Advisory Council is made up of folks from Washington, D.C. who are disabled and advocate for a more inclusive and equitable and safe transportation network throughout the district. My name is Karthik Balasubramanian. I'm a professor at Howard University School of Business, and I have an eye condition called macular degeneration, which makes me not able to drive and actually puts me in the majority of folks with disabilities who are not able to drive. I work in Ward 1 and I live in Ward 6. So generally we start off by just going through and doing introductions. So I'll popcorn it over to another member, Kelly Mack, and then if you can just popcorn it over to the next person after that, that'd be great.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Kelly Mack, a longtime DC resident. I also have a disability. I use a motorized wheelchair, and I do not drive. I motor and take the bus most places. And I live in Ward 3. And I'll popcorn it over to Matthew.
Hello, everybody. I can't believe it's already January. I am Matthew. I am deaf. I do read the optical leverage sign language interpreter. I think I'm in live and work in Ward 5. And yeah, work for Starbucks. And I founded our signing store over in 16H Northeast. And I currently work at our accessibility store, also in Northeast near Union Market.
Very cool.
And we hand out to Rick.
Hi, did you send it to Rick? Was Rick next? All right, good evening, everybody. Rick Penny. I'm with DDOT. I'm the chief engineer. And next would be Nilima. Please, Nilima Ganta.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
My name is Nilima Ganta. I'm the Deputy Director of DDOT.
Great. Perfect. Can you pass it on to maybe Zach?
Zach, you next.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Zach Smith, liaison to the MAAC District Department of Transportation, and I will pass it to Kelly.
Good evening, everyone. Kelly Jung Olson, Communications Manager under Traffic Safety Administration at TDOT.
Great. And I think who else do we have? We've got a couple other new folks. I think.
I'm happy to go. My name is Ashton. I live in Ward 6. I do not have a disability myself, but several of my loved ones do, and so I am always grateful for this space in hopes of being an ally. Did R go? There's some. Oh, you're the R. Hi. Sorry. And then is anyone else on that hasn't introduced themselves? Kelsey. I think everyone's gone.
Perfect. Great. Well, thanks everybody for intros. So today we've got friends from DDOT that will present on a multimodal measure of effectiveness tool. We've also got some questions. They have a hard stop after an hour. So so maybe I'll turn it over to y'all to present the tool, and then maybe what we can do is we can preserve at least half of the hour for questions, if that works for you.
Yep, sounds great. Okay. I'm gonna share my screen. Give me 1 minute. Why is it not showing?
To share your screen on this, it's on the bottom. There's a smiley face and a camera. It's right in between, and it looks like a.
Tell me if you can see. Give me 1 minute. Yeah, no, I'm able to figure that out.
Yeah, perfect.
Tell me if you're able to see this.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, of course. It's sharing the other screen. Let me try this again. It's sharing not the slideshow screen, it's sharing the opposite, the other screen. Give me 1 minute. We will get this screen. There you go. Okay. You should be able to see this now.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much for inviting DDOT for this meeting. We actually have been working on something for the past 2 years. Just a little bit about myself. I was the Chief of Traffic Safety Administration until last year, and this year I started with DDOT as the Deputy Director. So that's why I'm kind of sharing this tool because it was developed in my leadership under my guidance while I was in that role. Yeah, this is the new norm at DDOT, and all of the chiefs, including our chief engineer, we all signed a standard operation SOP to kind of follow this process going forward. With that, we dearly call it the MET tool because it's a long name, Multimodal Measures of Effectiveness. It's a mouthful, so we came up with the name the MET. Why is it not moving? Oh, there you go. I will breeze through these. This is more for like technical presentation, but if you have questions, stop me and ask. I'd rather have it to be a discussion rather than wait until the end. The purpose and need basically was we in traffic engineering generally measure just used to measure level of service for cars and delay for cars as the primary mode or measure of success for a project. That has been changing around the world and not so much in the States. So we really did not have any other way to measure per se, and numbers are important. And except for cars, other modes didn't have a way to be measured. So we wanted to change that. So DDOT is one of the first agencies to create a tool that measures all modes with a metric, and many factors go into this. This is I'm basically saying these are all what we say, like this is Federal Highway Strategic Plan, MAACDC. Everybody talks about being multimodal, but if you don't really measure it with a metric, it doesn't really show up in projects or keeps getting diluted. Again, this is Move DC, where we show multiple modes and the priorities for multiple modes. However, the translation into projects sometimes doesn't really happen because projects change from a planning team to a design team to a different project manager and a consultant. So we wanted to keep that vision intact from the beginning all the way to the end, and we wanted to improve every single mode that we want in the district. I'm going to skip through this. This is again for a technical audience, but how exhaustive was this work? We actually looked at tools that were developed all over the world, UK and a lot in New Zealand and a few other places that are starting to do something within the United States. And also we incorporated all of the guidelines that we have for bike design and bus design within DC itself, which is actually quite advanced compared to many other jurisdictions. With that said, the tool takes every single mode you see in this triangle into consideration. Walking, ADA access, biking, scooting, bus users, people in cars, ensuring that the streets next to schools and other vulnerable road user attractions have traffic calming. They also make sure that the curbside space is appropriately used and also freight. So that's all of the things that you see here. The scoring is done on a scale of 100. And if, for example, if we are talking about George Avenue is where we have a bus priority network. So when you have a priority for a mode, the score of that particular mode is twice as important as, let's say, car mode. So what I'm trying to say with that is, let's say cars get a score of 10, buses get a score of 10, the 10 score of the bus is twice as important as a car. Meaning if cars are not doing so well, it's not a big problem because the priority on that street is for buses. So that's what this slide is trying to say. Again, the idea is not to get a perfect score, like 100. It's really to measure between different alternatives and see how compromising on different things for different modes is affecting the final safety, operations, and comfort of that mode. I don't know how much everybody here is aware, but again, as I was saying, traditionally, it's only the level of service for cars and delay and queuing that's taken into account. But as you can see here, I don't need you to read this. What I'm trying to show here is we are taking 85 different metrics that are shown by different rows in this table, and each of them represent a mode. For example, if you see the first block with, I'm trying to use my cursor, I don't know if you can see this, but the first block over here represents different factors, including ADA access, are there ramps, is there a high visibility crosswalk, all of those factors, and how, depending on which kind of street it is on, a crosswalk being raised versus high visibility versus just 2 lines, all of these different things are scored differently. Meaning if you're crossing multiple lanes, we want it to be a high visibility crosswalk and you get a better score for doing a better facility. So once you do all of that, you score for that intersection, you get a score for pedestrians, and then you get a score for bicycles, and then there are multiple factors that score a bus facility and so on and so forth. So these are the different modes that get a score on a particular project. Freight and curbside also get a score. However, they're not part of, we don't really do projects for freight or for curbside management. So we take that into account, but it doesn't really factor into the final score. As you can see from here, there is intersection assessment, and then corridor assessment. Intersections are where different movements interact and there's a lot of complexity, whereas corridors are more about linear travel. So it's a very different dynamic, so they're measured differently. I'm going to give you a quick example. This is one of the projects that we are underway. The design is actually underway for this project. The existing cross-section looks like something you see on the left side of the screen, where it's 2 parking lanes and 2 travel lanes. And then on the right side, what we are proposing is one of the lanes be given to buses, and it will be a dedicated bus lane 24/7. before this tool was developed, this is how we were measuring the level of the success of the project. These, as you can see, are delays in level of service for cars. And as you can imagine, this is a no build condition, which is existing condition. And then the build condition, even with some mitigation, it's all red. You don't have to understand everything, but red is bad, which means we are saying adding a bus lane is bad. But you're measuring it with just the metrics for cars. Of course, it's going to be bad for cars. However, we applied this tool and the result looks like this. Now we are measuring how is it doing for pedestrians? How is Noble doing for pedestrians? How is the proposed alternative doing for pedestrians versus alternative 2? And the same way for bicycles, transit. And as you can see, vehicular traffic really, if you can see alternative 2, it drops quite a bit. It was doing quite well. It had a score of 4, 5 being the best, and it drops to 1. However, at the cost of that one mode, all the other modes reach number 5, which were previously at number 1. So when we kind of presented the success of the project through this tool, we got a lot of support from politicians, executive leadership, and actually public as well, ANCs in the region. So this is really going to be the norm and how we communicate the success of project from going forward. Again, I know I went through a lot of stuff really fast, but I can go back. I didn't want to make it really boring and too technical. That's really all I have for you. This tool right now, we are using it as an Excel form. You saw it in the earlier slide. But soon it will be a web application, and our plan is in about a year or two, it will be shared even with public. At least the slide that you saw here, in this format, at least it will be shared with public. So you can see how different alternatives compromise different modes. And the story of every mode is stored. So we are not making decisions just by looking at one mode. That's really what I have. This is a screenshot of the web tool that's still in development. This is really a great screenshot. As you can see, these are all the metrics that are part of a pedestrian score. And we are looking at, is there ADA compliance? Is there what is the width of the sidewalk? What are the cross slopes? What are the, all of the things that factor into a good experience for a pedestrian. Yeah, this again is a lot more technical, but there you go. If you have any questions, I'll leave it there. I'll just say one thing. It's a lot more work for DDOT. However, this is the right thing to do, and it aligns with our MAACDC goal, which is to improve every single mode. That's really what I have for you. Any questions?
Great, thank you so much. So I'll actually kick it over to our members first. I've got a few questions, but I'll kick it over to our members first, and we can go from there. So Kelly or Matthew, if you've got any questions, go for it.
Sure, I'll jump in. So this is really interesting and exciting, and I would love to learn more about the ADA component and also the real-time, I guess, disability usage component, because you probably have heard from other disabled people that ADA doesn't always equal like really accessibility, that there are, unique circumstances that happen. And so I'm wondering, how does that score come about, and how do you adjust it with community feedback?
So this is one way to make sure that all of the people working within DDOT on a project at a minimum meet this. We don't even have this now, right? The minimum we are meeting is level of service for cars. Well, we have not kind of been doing that. We actually went away from that, and we are taking everything into consideration. But truly, scoring everything has started only in the last 1 or 2 years. However, that is not all, right? There's a reason why we call projects to be context sensitive. The same project done in Georgia Avenue differs from how you do it on Wisconsin or, let's say, Connecticut, because what the community wants does have a lot of say in it. And that's why we come to the public. So when we come to the public and show, like, this is how it's scoring on each mode, and you, as a public members say, how did you consider for this or that, or the access for this facility? We will definitely listen to it and make sure that it's incorporated. However, we have to balance that with making the tool, already we have 85 metrics that go into this. And if you make the tool much bigger, the projects get really slow, because not every single project needs to have all of the metrics. Again, I'm not saying the metrics that you're asking for should not be everywhere, but again, this is the first time we are doing this tool. And if we see in every project there's a need for a certain certain metric to be measured, and we are not doing that and it's consistent, we'll make it part of the tool. So this is almost a dynamic tool that will be revisited every year or so, depending on the funding, and we will add more metrics if there's something we feel truly improve the quality of life of people. I know that was a long answer, but we are not insular, or we are not going, it's not that we are not going to listen to the public. This is just one tool to make sure that there's a basic minimum standard for work coming out of DDAT that takes all modes into consideration, including ADA. But that doesn't mean that's all.
Thanks.
If I could just add a couple of points to speak specifically on ADA. DDOT has an ADA coordinator. This person, when we have a major capital project, takes time to review the projects at major review milestones and ensure they actually have a sign off before we would go to construction. Based on their review, they have a sign off authority. The things that they're looking for is compliance with the ADA law, the PROAG. What that usually means is at intersection improvements, that's where, for running slope, it's typically matching the profile of the corridor, but at the intersections, we're responsible to have ADA accessible curb ramps, also the push buttons. And so there's a check to ensure that a lot of our designs are done by consultants. And so to ensure the design satisfies all of those requirements. And then secondly, we always value the special input. No site is the same. And we get this input through public outreach. So during project development, we will have several instances where we present the project to the community with a PowerPoint, and it evolves from concept to preliminary and then final design. And we'll be back one last time prior to construction, just to inform everybody about the anticipated construction impacts, how we would be handling safe accommodations for pedestrians through the work zone, and most importantly, how to contact DDOT if you observe a problem. There's never been a perfect construction project, but we absolutely have to have perfection in response to identified issues. So with that, I hope we've both been able to answer your questions.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Anyone else before? Okay, great. So first of all, I want to commend DDOT for taking this step. I think anything that will get us away from a kind of a car first, car dominated kind of car supremacist type of model is something that is super sorely needed. The status quo is totally broken in so many ways, from safety to throughput to accessibility to efficiency, in a lot of different ways. My first question is basically that I'm worried that, there are a lot of obvious bus priority projects that just need to happen. It's just obvious that, a bus lane can move so many more people than car lanes. Is this a tool that can slow any bus priority projects down?
No, it's actually the opposite. Georgia Avenue project was facing a lot of challenges when we were using traditional metrics. And we actually asked WMATA to give us the total number of people by the boarding and alighting, the total number of people using the corridor in a day. And then we looked at the number of vehicles, and it was 50 2,000 vehicles and 51,000 people
Yeah.
in the bus.
Yeah.
So we actually, we basically said it's 50-50 percent of people. 50% of the people are using car and 50% are using bus. So the roadway should be 50-50%. It sounds very logical as an engineer to say that. However, that's not how politics works. So we actually had to show, let's consider every single mode. Like everybody is a pedestrian at some point. So this tool really helped us show that by improving facilities for transit users, we're improving it for many users, including if you have disability, if, pretty much everything. If you improve things for cars, you're only improving things for cars. So that is really how we pitch this. Not only the table that you saw with like bar graphs for different modes, we actually use the number of people using and then multiplied that by delay. So it's person delay, not vehicle delay. So, or person throughput versus vehicle throughput. So.
Great. And also one thing is I know a lot of the engineers' job is to do projections. Do we also start to do projections around increase of public transit usage and not just kind of increase of car usage?
So actually in DC, we are starting to not project increase in anything, because what we have seen historically is the population and the population coming in has not really changed that much. Actually, sometimes it's been decreasing. Now it may increase with the people coming into the office, but it has a limit to it. So we are not in the business of building bigger and constantly expecting 1% growth. That's not how it works. Even if you have the capacity to grow and have a lot of development in the States right now, there's no growth. There's actually a decline in population. So that is one thing we are going to change. It's a deviation from what Federal Highway wants, but we are not projecting growth for anyone, is what I'm trying to say.
Great.
Anymore.
Okay, cool. So I want to give, before we have a set of questions that I was hoping to go to. What I'll do is I'll just share my screen. But before that, I want to first kind of share, I'm not sure if you all have seen our principles, but basically for arterial street space usage, we basically, for any arterial street, we unanimously passed this resolution. Basically, before looking at anything, the first and foremost, most important thing are ADA compliant sidewalks on both sides of any arterial street. Then additional right-of-way should be used for 24/7 dedicated and protected public transit and emergency vehicle lanes. Then ADA pickup and drop-off zones, then protected bike lanes, scooter lanes, power wheelchair lanes, then scooter parking to make sure that that scooters are off the sidewalk, then only general motor vehicle lanes. Kind of looking at it from a high level of basically how do we make sure that our arterials are accessible, efficient, and sustainable to get us to the kind of our sustainability goals, for our accessibility goals, for our reliability goals. So that's and then only after that, then we have general non-ADA pickup and drop-off zones, then ADA only parking, then parklets and streeteries, then tree boxes and green space, and then only last after all of that is satisfied is truly market price car parking, which we actually don't have in the district at all. None of it is actually truly market price. So looking at our arterials, we're nowhere near where we think we need to be, but that's kind of our starting point. That's just kind of one useful frame for us to just say, hey, this is nowhere near the status quo. This is where, if we want to be sustainable, accessible, and we want a real reliable network where we treat everyone with dignity and equity, this is where we need to get to. So that's kind of part one. So one of the reasons I share that first is that we've got here, our time tax. So basically, we did some research and basically went from centroid to centroid for all A and C combinations. And we basically found out, and there are a bunch of different ways to measure this, but if you look at it in a bunch of different ways, it's all relatively similar. You go from point to point in the district, it's generally at least 2.5 times longer to get from anywhere to another place by public transit rather than a car. And in places where car ownership is lowest, like Ward 8, that number is even higher. It's at 3.5 times. So basically what that's saying is that our transportation network right now is set up in such a way that drivers' time is worth 2.5 times longer, or kind of said another way, a non-driver's time is worth only 40% the amount of time that a driver's time is worth. And all life is just a combination of sequences of time. So basically what this is saying is that our current network is saying that the life of a non-driver is only worth 40% of the life of a driver. And that's something that we definitely, that's kind of, figuring out a way to like really rebalance that, because I think kind of putting that in terms of equity is just like literally what we're doing is, by not having bus lanes everywhere on arterial streets with buses, with bus routes, we are basically saying that your time is worth less than, and your life is worth less than everyone else's. So I wanted to one, just kind of get a react. So I know that kind of this MET tool is kind of going in that direction, but specifically, I want to see if anything like this has been discussed among folks, because specifically this is our interest. Almost 40% of DC doesn't drive, and then people with disabilities are twice as likely to not drive. So that's why we want to kind of hone in on this way, because from our perspective, the network is basically prioritizing people significantly higher than us, and just leaves us with only the risk, and basically all of the risk of getting killed or injured on our streets, because that we've prioritized speed for so long.
So I'll start from the last part, which is I'm excited to see this actually from a non-transportation sector. I really appreciate you showing that. This is how I've had success all of my career, getting bus lanes and BRT lanes in all over the country before I started working for DDOT, by converting delay instead of vehicle delay as a passenger delay. It's 40 people per bus times. Yeah. That's always been what I've done, and that's what that's how we got success, at least so far. I can't speak for the future, what kind of politics will happen. However, so far we are in full-blown design for dedicated bus lanes for Georgia Avenue, and that's how we got there, by showing it as a person delay or person time saved. So we are speaking the same thing, and that's the direction DDOT is going. And yeah. So that is in a good place. What was your other question? Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I bike almost 11 miles to get to work every day, and I know what you're talking about. It's a 30-minute car ride versus it's a 1-hour bike ride. Or if I take a bus and a train, that's also nearly 1 hour.
Yeah.
However, cities are not built in one day. I'm frustrated every single day, and that really motivates me to do better and bring change more things in the city.
Yeah.
And we are doing that.
Yeah.
But as you know, this is your viewpoint, and we are just finishing up a project in Grand Circle, and we are dealing with the opposition too, people who are used to driving only, and the amount of opposition we get. So what I'm trying to say is it takes time, and cities are not built in one day, and we are going in this direction. So I appreciate you. We want your support, but we are all going towards the same direction.
Yeah, I mean, so like if you need anyone to support the MET tool and why we need to move that, I think you'll find all of us would be very happy to issue a resolution in public support of any of this. This is like the direction that we want DDOT to be going.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm among friends. So
Yeah.
my first project ever with DDOT is actually ADA compliance for 50 most used bus stops in the district.
Yeah.
So that's how my career started. So I'm with you.
Cool. Great. Thank you. Another thing that we wanted to flag. So, our streets are super dangerous. So since the Vision Zero commitment was made, over 350 people were killed, over 3,900 people have been seriously injured and very seriously injured. So if we look at the VSL calculation, that ends up being, putting aside all anything moral, and just saying we just look at the raw numbers. That's about about $8 billion in harm. And if we backed out the number of vehicle hour delays at 3120, I'm not sure if that's the rate that folks were using before. That's 277 million vehicle hour delay that basically all of those lives bought or implied. So the thing that alarmed me was, we're apparently not considering, I saw a slide from somewhere, I'm not sure, some DDOT engineer was presenting on road diets being not considered in anywhere where it will increase delay by over 60 seconds, and anything over 30 seconds would trigger significant review. And that kind of, the reason I did these calculations was like, well, if there's 30 seconds, we're not even considering anything over 60 seconds, but all of this, put aside all of the blood, if we just use the same methodology, we've basically already bought 277 million vehicle hours of delay. Where does this arbitrary 60-second cutoff come from?
It does sound very arbitrary. I have not studied that in school. I've never used that in my 20+ year career. So
Yeah.
that is very arbitrary. Sounds like, we are an agency, but sometimes not everybody's aligned. So maybe somebody spoke out of turn. I will invite the chief engineer to also join me here. Rick, I don't know where this is coming from.
Yeah, that really doesn't comport with what the way I see our roadway projects going. They all have some component of road diet. Either, we're usually converting general purpose to protected bike or BRT, but I really don't have projects that aren't dieting. And so I don't know how recent that was. It also doesn't, I don't think we have that written down, and certainly our planning and traffic safety administrations who work in coordination with us on the concepts for our new projects. I don't think that anybody is using this as a standard.
Okay.
But it makes an important point, right? And I guess you're hearing from both Neelam and myself that we're really trying to move the needle in a different direction, going multimodal as much as possible and addressing the safety through the high injury network.
Yep.
So yeah, sorry that if you had an example, I don't want to single anybody out, but if you wanted to sidebar me,
yeah,
I'd love to address that. Especially if it was on one of our teams, we would like to make the correction internally.
Okay, great. Yeah. I think I'll.
That said, I want to add a few things, right? Today I was dealing with what is that media platform, Instagram, or I'm not on all of them, or TikTok, I don't know, one of those, where somebody in Ward 8, we just finished a bus priority project where a bus lane was put in. And to get to the bus stop, we actually added the curb extensions to reduce the amount of crossing. And a vehicle actually drove out of the travel lane, got on the curb ramp, and went into a store, crashed into a store. However, the story here was that we forced, the reason I'm giving this view is not to turn anybody against anybody, but I'm just trying to show you that we can never be right. We become the lightning rod for everybody. People who love driving and are used to it hate us. People who bike and want to use buses think we are not doing enough. But in this case, clearly this person is either intoxicated or driving too fast to get out of the lane into a parking lane through a curb and hit a store. However, we had to answer for it saying, this is actually a right design. We actually had to go meet the public, who are all very angry about the curb extension, which is a good thing for pedestrians. So the reason why I'm saying that is not that anybody's better than anybody. However, there's a lot of what people want in their own community, even though this isn't what it, that is where we have the most difficulty putting in bike lanes and bus lanes.
Yeah.
Because they don't want them. So I'm just like, it almost feels like I know what's good for you, you know, when we go in, because they take it that way. However, it's like, yeah. And coming back to the 30 and 60 seconds, I will give you one caveat. I'm doing a project right now where 2 HIN roadways meet. Obviously, we are going to do the best, and it's actually IPMA-led project. However, because it's HIN, in my previous role, I was deeply involved in making sure that it's the safest project that we deliver. However, once the not delay, but the queue exceeded a certain point, it then gets onto the highway, and then a cascade effect happens. Like once there is a standing queue on a highway, I mean, cars are not going to vanish right away, right? Like we are going to slowly make it harder and harder to drive, if I can say it that way, or maybe not make it the most pleasant experience that people will be like, maybe I should take that bus. Seems like it's going much faster than I am. So that's the whole idea. But if we completely gridlock and have queues extend in a certain way, it could actually cause more deaths. And in the short term. So we have to constantly balance that. So I had to actually stop certain treatments because the queue was getting to freeway. So up until that point, I was like, that's okay. But at that point, I had to be like, at high speeds, injuries are deaths, right? Like accidents become deaths. So I just want to give you the nuance that that's pretty much the only time where we are pulling back a little bit. And we come back to that project again in 5 years and like, okay, now I think we can get rid of this left turn lane, additional left turn lane. But yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about 695 and 11th?
No, Pennsylvania Avenue.
Okay. Yeah, that's another kind of the extension or the widening of the on 11th Street Southeast. Anyway, that's something that we brought up before too. Of just, I'm glad that it's, and without getting sidetracked on that, but I appreciate the additional information. So actually, speaking of 2 HIN roadways coming together, specifically on left turns. We know that left turns are super dangerous. We brought this up back in 2021 at Georgia and Florida. 2 HINs, also 2 super heavily used bus corridors. There's right now a left turn, so looking like southbound, Georgia southbound as it becomes 7th. There's a left turn from Georgia onto Florida. That is like, if you just stand there for, I've taken videos of this, like if you just stand there, you'll see really wildly dangerous behavior. And it's basically the signal timing that because there's that protected left, people are trying to beat the light right as pedestrians start to go. And this just seems like an obvious thing to do of, this is so dangerous, 2 HINs coming together and that intersection specifically dangerous. And also you've got buses going, like, why not just ban the left turn? Like, it just seems like an obvious thing that we should be doing.
Let me consider that. Let me look at the alternative paths and implications and take a look and see. And also, again, we have 1,600 intersections and I have to pace myself because there are intersections where truly they're the worst in the district or the top 10. And I tend to focus based on the metrics, because we can't fix the entire city in one day. So not one day, but it takes time. So we have to follow the metrics. Where are the worst intersections? And that's where we put the money and time. However, because you brought this up, I will take a quick look. Do you mind sending me a quick, or
yeah, I've got a lot
I'll
of
make
stuff.
a note for myself.
I've got a lot of stuff that I can send, but and it also fits the mold of avenues and like of basically left turn from avenue to avenue. Like these are just like because they're diagonal streets, people take them at higher speeds. Like it's just like a really yeah. But this one in particular, I've been watching this one for so long, and also like. It impedes. There's so many issues with it because it's not just a pedestrian issue, but it also bottlenecks because it's 1 and 3 lanes rather than 2 and 2. You know, you can have a single bottleneck for the 70, 79, now the D4, D4X, like the most used bus lane in the entire district. Like there are just so many problems with like the prioritization of this left turn. But anyway, that is just one thing that I wanted to mention. Just in general, our left turns, like, it will, like, people can take 3 rights. Like, it is possible. They can get to where they're going. And kind of a larger question too is basically like how much we actually want through traffic. So, the mayor is, really trying to get people to live downtown and making a big investment in trying to make downtown a more vibrant space. But if you really look at downtown and how it's structured, a lot of cars, I don't actually know what the number is. I've never kind of looked at the vehicle counts, but a huge chunk of that traffic is just through traffic. It's not adding anything to downtown vitality. And the more that a road is used for through traffic, the less vibrant an area is going to be. Like, we're not talking about banning cars from downtown, but there are really good examples from around the world where they're basically saying, hey, we don't want to ban car access downtown, but we do not want downtown just to become a car sewer where people just like treat it like a highway. Like, if you look at 7th Street right now, it is like a highway. People just use it to go from one part of the city through, like, right through downtown. Same way with like all around, the Carnegie Library, whether it's K Street or Massachusetts Avenue or New York Avenue, like these are, that is a super historic area that could be really vibrant. But the reason it's not is that the people are just using it like a highway, just coming from one end of the city to another. And I'm wondering, like, there's a simple, in Groningen in the Netherlands, what they did is it basically just, created barriers that would always allow preserving car access, but it just wouldn't allow through traffic. So you couldn't get from one sector of the city to another without going all the way around. And we have quite a bit of bypass infrastructure already. We want people to go use that bypass infrastructure to get to where they're going, not just, basically, killing the vitality of downtown. And is that something that has been studied? That's kind of a question that I've got.
I would say if I'm trying to truly bypass, now I live in DC, but previously when I didn't, I actually used one of the 4 that you mentioned there. Never really used the street network to get through DC because we have so many pre-time signals. It is not an efficient way if you're trying to go through.
Yeah.
So I'm not actually aware of regular streets with signals being used as bypasses. I'm not aware. I don't know the metrics that this is actually happening. How much is cut through? I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if that's something that can, because so it just seemed like something that we're really working at cross purposes, like where if the mayor wants to make downtown really vital, like, like this is basically, like, if you look at the L'Enfant plan, like, this is really, this whole area is like a place that's kind of begging to be vibrant. It's like in the heart of the city. It's super like, you know, very transit rich already. But if you really just, if you stand at any of these corners, this is actually, I kind of keep a log of where I have blood on the street. Like literally I've gotten my own blood on the street, and this is one of those corners, because it's just, what this is like, you've got a lot of through traffic. They're like, people aren't stopping anywhere here to go to a store. They're going from one end of the city to another on New York or on Massachusetts. And these aren't limited access. Like these are places that we really want to be vibrant. So basically, like one way of thinking about it is like, if you take 7th and H and just close down this intersection already, there's already a barn stance here. Just close the intersection completely. And what that does is, and you see this in so many European cities, what that does is it still preserves all of the car access. You can still get to anywhere by car. If you need to use a car, you can use a car. But what it does, is cut down all the traffic that are just people going from one end of 8th Street, to another, or one end of 7th Street, all the way up, from the wharf to Georgia, from the wharf, for example, up to like Upper Georgia Avenue. Like these are things that we don't want cars to be driving here, unless they are actually bringing people here. And that's something that, I wanted to see if that's like anyone is seriously considering anything like this.
I have two thoughts on the bookends for this discussion, and I think it's really, I appreciate that we're talking about it, and we should be. First, some scars that we wear from attempting to really reduce the cross-section and repurpose it to just multimodal on the K Street Transit Way. We were there. It was 100% designed. As you know, some of the most vocal opponents that came out was the business community and the concerns about being able to lease their buildings and all of this downtown. So that was it wasn't even a full closure. The goal, the purpose was, for BRT dedicated, repurposed service lanes into the center. It's DDOT's trying. And in some cases, we're getting right up to almost the finish line and still finding out that there are opponents to some of these ideas. But we have a number of, back to the original discussion about road diets, a number of the projects that are currently under construction represent forms of road dieting. Penn West is repurposing general purpose lanes to bike and parklets. The Connecticut deck over, we've taken away the parking lanes and just providing a curbless section with very slow moving pass through with a new deck, pedestrian first, new enjoyable spaces. And so we're doing we're doing what we can. We can always do much more. It's interesting. Both of us were over at Convention Center. TRB is convened this week. Yeah. And so we were appreciating that. One good news, I was in a workshop where DDOT was lead as panelists doing a study with folks, experts all over the country. The workshop was looking at New York Ave. Between Mount Vernon and White House to see what kind of road diet the software, the leads had determined we don't need. That's 120-foot right of way, and it's already has a median in it. But there are ideas for what we can do to repurpose lanes and increase the mode split and use there. And then I'm going to end with the best. Over at 8th and F. 7th and F at the Portrait Gallery, in conjunction with commitments the district has made for improvements at Capital One Arena. We are looking very closely and starting concepts for pedestrian scale streets, including midterm to long-term closures of portions of those streets. And so it's not Mount Vernon, but it's a block or two away. So we hope to continue to get more and more successes and build on them. So yeah, Nilima, did you want to add? No, I saw
No, yeah, it's a slow movement because we're all very passionate about multimodal. That's why we are working for DDOT.
right.
However, we still are answerable to the public, and we need to bring everybody along slowly. We are not in Europe. Trust me, I wish I was there. I was in Netherlands, and I couldn't believe the amount of people that fit in that place. And that's only possible when you don't have cars. However, we are here and the change is coming, but it's slow, but we are all on the same page. We want to go there because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I want to underscore, we really appreciate all the good work that folks at DDOT are doing. Yeah, I think you can put us in this camp of we should be doing a lot more, a lot faster. But to the extent that we'll always, I think I'll speak for everyone on the council. We've got your back if you've got any pushback, because for every person who shows up at a meeting because they lost their parking space or it takes them 20 seconds longer because they need to sit at one more light, there are another 10 people who are riding the bus that don't have any time to go to a public transit meeting or to show up at a meeting. And these are all of the folks that you just should not have to spend $10,000 a year, which is the estimate of car ownership costs, just to get from point A to point B, especially not in the district. So yeah, so really appreciate it on my end, but I know I've kind of monopolized this. Are there, and I know you guys have a hard stop in about 4 minutes, but opening it up to anyone else who has questions. Kelly, Matthew.
I actually have a request for you all. If somebody's still thinking about a question, often the voices that are heard are the person who's saying their parking spot in front of their house is going, which is not theirs. However, that's, people who have a problem with something are the ones coming. And again, people who may have problem may not have time to actually show up, who are transit users or, challenged with abilities, or it could be many things, right? They're working harder. So maybe I will reach out to you if it's a project in the vicinity of anybody here or anybody that's part of your membership. We want those voices heard. We want them to represent, because we can't represent everybody, right? We are there to listen to you all, and those voices will be good to hear. So Mr. Balasubramanian, I can't believe I'm saying that wrong, but anyway, I will reach out to you. I'll let you know, hey, this is going to be a controversial project. If anybody from your committee can show up, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, we'll always be there. If you want us to make videos or whatever, we want to have your back on anything that's difficult to do. This is the direction that we really, this is why we're all involved. It's just we really want to get there, and yeah, anything that you're doing, we've got your back.
Thank you.
And I'll also say one last thing, and Rick, I think you should also jump in and correct me here. There are staff within DDOT. Again, it's a 1,600 people agency, and we're bringing everybody along. The reason for using this tool that is required on every single project is to make sure that this culture is embedded within everyone. However, people take time to change, and sometimes their views could come in, and maybe they have worked in other jurisdictions where the goals were different. So I want to ask everybody for grace. If you're hearing something like the 30 second threshold that I'm not even sure where it came from, I want you to alert us, hey, this is what we heard. This doesn't make sense. That would be good to know.
Yep. Yeah, I'll send that. I think I took a picture of the slide. I'll send it.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
I'll just end with this. 2 other things that have been kind of, well, one that wasn't mentioned. We're also looking at a before and after assessments of our projects, and that's going to be another great tool. I'm stealing a little bit of Nilima's thunder, but just as we wrap up, it's something else. The data matters, and we can learn from the data. And then there was one other thing. Oh, peak hour. so, you know, we understand that there are 23 other hours in the day, and peak hour, while, you know, years ago, that's what the highway capacity is driving us to look at. You saw in the tool, we're evaluating the other modes. DDOT is looking to consider all of a balanced use. And so I just want to make sure, I think I had seen in some of the earlier correspondence something about peak hour design focus, and it's just as bad as this 30 to 60 second statement. And that's, as we're planning and developing concepts on our new projects, we are looking at the total picture and all of the users.
Rick is 100% right. However, I do have to say, any federally funded project that requires federal highway sign off still requires us to only present vehicular level of service and delay. These are all the requirements we're putting on ourselves because we want a different outcome.
Yeah.
However, any federally funded project doesn't require any of this, and they're measuring only one thing. With that said, they're still only looking at peak hours. So again, DC is a very, it's like an oasis in the States. It's different in the United States. So we are doing more, and so there is a disconnect there. If it's a federal project, and even the political environment right now,
Sure.
we're challenged with that too.
Thank you, Neelam. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Excellent.
We'll keep in touch.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right. Take care. Okay. Got it. So, thanks everybody. So now we can shift over to our regularly scheduled agenda. I'm just going to pull that up.
I think the link that you put in before was it was a duplicate of the principles document. Would you mind posting
Sorry
the
about
link
that.
again?
Sorry about that. It is www.maacdc.link/agenda. Yes. Okay, perfect. There we go. Okay. And just for orientation's sake, on the right-hand side, or on the left-hand side, you'll see tabs for the different months. So you'll have to click on January 2026. So we just had our DDOT chief engineer and deputy director speak. Now we'll shift over to DDOT bus priority monthly standing updates. Any update on that, Zach?
Hey y'all. Yes, I spoke with Megan. They said they can't do monthly updates with someone coming in person. They're going to work on getting just a list of the projects together and where they stand. They would like to do updates with a little bit more cadence, so maybe like quarterly updates if that's possible.
Yeah, it's a great place to start. That's a great place to start. Yeah, and then the worst case too, like, you know, maybe it's just like sending a document monthly and then just like coming quarterly or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just so that the big picture is just like, it would just be nice. Like this came out of like, I had heard a rumor that 8th Street Southeast was Barracks Row bus lane was getting canceled, but it turns out that that's not true, and I couldn't, and I would have loved to refute that, and just say, hey, no, this is actually not true. This is so just something that we can refer to and just say, hey, this is the status of this thing. Yeah, so yeah, monthly, like something in write, like just like a document would be great, but yeah, quarterly. Maybe if they're cool with that, that would be a big help.
Okay, perfect.
Cool. Great. Thanks for that update. We've got October and November meeting minutes. We also have December as well. Nao, would you mind dropping those in the chat as well, so that we can go through those?
Yeah, sure. Just to clarify, so the link to the agenda that everyone just received if you go to the tabs on the left-hand side, because the link that I send you is basically going to send you to that same area, I will go ahead and put those in there.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you. Or is December, or is December still being worked on? No worries if it is. That's not, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, so as the agenda says, the October and November ones are the ones that are prepared for review.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. That's great. Cool. So yeah, so maybe what we can do is we can quickly look at November and yeah, here we go. Okay, perfect. Let me share my screen. Okay, great. There we go. Okay, yes. So in November, we had DPW present. This is the first meeting that I've missed in 4 years.
It's impressive, Carter.
Yeah,
That's very good attendance. Oh.
but yeah, so DPW presented. We have some follow-up. We had a follow-up letter that Kelly wrote. We asked a lot of great questions. This was a follow-up for the Pedestrian Advisory Council's invitation of Ms. West. Luckily, we haven't had snow yet. My general sense is that this is, it's going to be largely the same as last year. If we do, where the sidewalks aren't really prioritized at all. But it's good that we have this kind of in writing where we say, hey, these are things that are problems, and we really want to change this. So yes, so if folks, we can go through point by point, but I think generally the meeting minutes capture this discussion. So I will just make a motion and we also had an introduction of the Asana project tracker too. So yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the November meeting minutes.
Second.
Perfect. So the motion's on the table. All in favor of approving the minutes?
You got it.
Perfect. Matthew?
Thanks, Matthew.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Okay, great. We did have an action item that came out. We still haven't heard back from anyone.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
Naya, were we able to send anything physically?
Yes, we were able to send a hard copy letter to DPW, to Warnick, to Ms. West.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks, Neil.
Cool. So we really hope that we'll get a response. Yeah, this is something that is not going to go away. I think we should continue to beat the drum on this.
And if I look a little, it's been light on snow, so have they had time to look at it?
That's true. That's true. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely true. Cool. Great. So we've got November meeting minutes approved. So in October, we had Jonathan Rogers of the For Hire Vehicles. The last we so the last we talked to him, we had sent a letter. They came to present and then came again. We continued to discuss. This is kind of much like the DPW. This is going to be a perennial issue that we'll continue to bring up. Do we have any outstanding items? So outstanding asks of them. I'm trying to kind of remember this. Does anybody remember of kind of any outstanding asks?
I don't think so. I have been on a few follow-up meetings with the DFHV Accessibility Advisory
Yep.
Council. So I'm kind of keeping abreast in that way. I would love to have them back maybe in April or May to just present, because they were working on some things just
Yeah.
to present updates, and I feel like if we keep present, then they have to keep thinking about us, I hope. So,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
but I'm
why not-
flexible on time frame because I know we were asking DPW back, so I don't know when we want to reach out to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are the people that we want to just stay on their radar. So why don't we can re-invite them to come back in the spring. We should re-invite DPW to come back in the spring. We should re-invite the DDOT director to come back in the spring as well. And then we can basically just start kind of filling up our meetings with guests that we want to kind of basically stay on the radar for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those are three folks that we'll want to continue to talk to. So that's one. On DFHV, there's also an opportunity. This is a kind of question for performance oversight. They all have hearings. That's something that kind of it might be an opportunity to bring up. Like to actually testify at one of the performance oversight hearings for DFHV. And, you know, they don't have, one of the things that that I heard from Jonathan Rogers, which makes sense, is that they don't have oversight over Uber or Lyft, which
Right.
I think that would be a major thing if we could convince council that they really should have oversight, and at least maybe have a voice in that hearing where we say, hey, like, it's really time for DFHB to have some sort of oversight for Uber and Lyft. And I think that might move the needle for accessibility, of Uber and Lyft vehicles too, and their commitment to Uber and maybe also to the kind of accessibility of future AVs. It might be a good way to kind of get our foot in the door. So that's something I just wanted to kind of put that out there as like an opportunity of like maybe one of us testifies at DFHB performance oversight hearing and specifically raise that issue of council should pass legislation to have formal oversight over Uber and Lyft, and specifically around accessibility metrics as well.
And maybe do something similar to Montgomery County where there's a small kind of accessibility fee that's a surcharge.
Yeah.
But then provide the funds for DFHV to actually make some of these improvements.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah, I haven't seen the oversight schedule yet. I haven't looked, so I think it would depend on schedule, but I would be interested.
Cool. Yeah, let's watch that. So we'll also have our own the MAAC performance oversight hearing, but I think we should, if the timing works, I think if we testify at DFHB and maybe DPW, I think that might be a way for us to kind of have additional people listening to us. Yeah. So there's actually, and along those lines, do we have the performance oversight document from last year? That's one thing that I meant to put on the agenda for this for this year, or for this month.
Yeah, in the December agenda, we have the link to that, which has been started for this upcoming performance oversight hearing.
Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So if folks can start filling that out, maybe Nail, can we send it out in an email just reminding people to like start filling this out? like specifically around like kind of any goals or accomplishments or kind of things that they want to bring up. If we can just send that out, maybe I think that generally it happens in early February. So maybe like over the next couple weeks, like if folks can write basically whatever they want, and then I'll kind of consolidate it and pass it on, and I'll use that document to actually deliver the testimony. But if that works, I think that's a kind of a good way for all of us to be on the same page on that front. Cool. Another. So we have. Did we approve the October minutes? I think I might have taken us off track.
We didn't do the vote.
Okay, yes. So I'll make a motion to approve our October minutes, which focus on DFHB. Is there a second?
Second.
Perfect. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Perfect. Great. So we've passed, and then we'll just approve our December and January minutes in our February meeting. MAAC officers. So we can and should have officers. We've got the chair position that I'm currently filling, and also an open treasurer position and an open secretary position. So I would like to stay on as chair, but if anyone else would like to step up, we also thrilled to have that, to have another face or voice. So I thought maybe we could just have a quick discussion about what people are interested in. Especially, there's also this treasurer position is one that I've also been filling, but would love to bring someone on in that role. We do have some resources that we could be using to kind of further our mission. So maybe I'll just ask, is there anyone else who's interested in serving as chair? Okay, so then if no one else, I think we have not had an election. We actually don't have a rule for how often elections need to take place, but I think maybe what we can do is just go ahead and have the election now for chair. So I'll put myself forward as to continue on being chair, but I kind of would more than happily step aside if there's someone else who's also interested. But yeah, I'll make a motion to renew my term as chair. And is there a second for that?
Second.
Perfect. So
A hearty second.
thank you. So all in favor of me remaining as MAAC chair?
Aye.
Perfect. And I.
Aye.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Unanimous.
And then I wanted to see if either of you are interested in becoming treasurer. That would be super helpful, and also just it's an opportunity to think about how we might be able to use our resources to kind of move the needle forward. I think every year we've ended having significant money in the bank, and then it just kind of goes away. Either of you happen to be interested in becoming treasurer?
It's not my strength, I admit.
No pressure. We can ask Matthew. Any interest? Okay.
I mean, I can explore it, sure. I think one of the things, outside, I had some questions about like the role and like the treasurer, but like a board member. So once we get past this, that'd be great. I mean, I'm open to it. I mean, it just means.
How about
go on.
Yeah. How about we talk offline? That's super interesting. Basically just, and then I can kind of show you, and we can I can kind of show you kind of what all it's involved. It's really not much, but just someone who's just thinking about how we can use our resources, like to kind of further our mission. But yeah, so maybe I'll just shoot you an email, and we can talk offline about it, and then if you're interested, we can formalize it next month or the month after.
That's great, and then we can tag along just some of the stuff around the role, like just being a board member as well.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, great. So then lastly, we just have general public discussion. So other things that folks want to bring up, I think we've got a set of people that we want to invite for February, March, April, May. And so that includes the DDOT director, it includes DPW director, it includes the DFHB director. Anything else? Anyone else that we'd like to invite?
Have we talked? So one thing that I was interested, I think the meeting that you weren't here, the one time in the 4 years you weren't here, I was thinking about, accessibility, basically like the deaf and hearing community around like the metro and the trains and all of that. So have we had any conversation with folks with WMATA in a while? I mean, doesn't have to be February, March, but like I would love to, have an opportunity to maybe have people within that space would be nice.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be next month, but like within the calendar year, put them on the book.
Yeah, that's actually a good. So what we could do, so there was, I think it was a couple months ago, we had Tino, who is the head of I think it's the Rider Advisory Council. Basically, it's not just DC, but the group of people who advise Metro on the citizen advisory group that advises Metro and WMATA overall. So Tino was there, and we had some ideas that, maybe what we can do is we can propose like a joint meeting with them, or at least invite a bunch of people from their group to come to ours, and we can and then maybe even have someone from WMATA as well. But yeah, for sure. Let me reach out to Tino and see what we can put together. Yeah, that's a great point. Another thing that I wanted to bring up too is this kind of perennial issue of parking, and specifically no ADA PUDOs, or I don't think we have any actual ADA PUDOs, and kind of aligning our parking policy with them. So I think one person that I think would be great to talk to is
Sorry for the interpreters, Karthik. Did you say kudos? Pudos?
Oh, I'm sorry. PUDOs is pickup drop-off zones.
Got it.
Yeah. So the parking, the people who oversee curbside management for DDOT, that's another person that I think would be great to invite, just to kind of press them on kind of where we are with ADA PUDOs, and just in general, like market, aligning DDOT's curbside management with our principles. So yeah, any thoughts on that? How do folks feel about that?
I like it.
Perfect. Cool. Okay, great. So I think that kind of covers, who we want to invite over the next few months. Any other kind of general discussion, anything else that folks have on their mind that they want to raise as things that we should talk about more, focus on, and people to invite, kind of initiatives that we should take on?
I'm actually wondering, is there any news about AV, anything in AVs that's happening? Because not urgent, but I want to make sure we, people update us on what's happening there.
Yeah. Let's I know, so there's that legislative side, and then there's the DDOT in-house regulatory side, and I think that's great. Let's invite. I'm also kind of very interested in this, so that's kind of another focus area for us that we can invite folks in and kind of see where we are.
Awesome.
I mean, I don't know if this is just something that, as a new person, thinking about, the work that we do, how we do some outreach with the community, or even just like, hey, these are some initiatives that are getting more community voices. Do we collaborate? I know right now it's probably a hard time with the Office of Disability Rights, just because they're
It's so
director just passed, but thinking about them, but also within the office is the Division of Deaf and Hard of Hearing, Deafblind. It's a really, really long name. Division for the Deaf group is there too. So when we talk to people like today, DDOT and all of that, I guess my term is how do we maybe can collaborate with them to disseminate this information, to seek, or even local nonprofits, organizations as well. Just to say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we've been talking about. So I don't know if we have a cadence for that, or we can create a cadence for that. I mean, obviously right now we need to be respectful of what's been going on over at, with Matt passing, but just thinking about how can we collaborate with those spaces to get more voices.
100%. Yeah, I would love to have more folks come to our meetings, that people who live in the district and have different disabilities. I mean, that just having more people come and provide feedback to the kind of various agencies that we're interacting with, that would be great. We also have 2 additional seats that are still open, that would be fantastic to get more folks. So I think there is a large thing on kind of community outreach that just right now, Nao is or maybe Nao, can you give a kind of quick update on recruitment?
Sure. So I do have a spreadsheet where I've been compiling a list of the organizations in both government, local government, and also more disability or able-bodied organizations that we've reached out to. So haven't heard anything, so I would welcome more individuals adding in different organizations or other groups that you feel that would be helpful for me to, or for us to start reaching out to increase our members, and also just to invite them to our meetings.
Cool. Yeah. So maybe, Nao, can you send that list out to everyone, and then maybe what we can do is we can all add to that list. But yeah, I mean, I think something more, especially maybe Matthew, I can, when we talk about treasurer, maybe there's some additional stuff that we can think about to get to invite people in a stronger way than just sending them an email to come to our meetings and maybe even join the MAAC as well. Cool. Anything else? Okay, great. Well, I think this is the first time that we've ever actually finished our agenda through and through, and we have 1 minute to spare. So thanks everybody.
Happy New Year.
Thanks everybody. Happy New Year. We'll see you next month, second Wednesday at 5:30. MAACDC.link/agenda, or I'm sorry, /meeting. And thanks everyone for a great meeting.
Thanks all.
Take care, everyone.